Did you know in the books, here are all the houses that supported Rhaenyra? Gyldayn writes, "The annals of the Great Council of 101 were brought forth and examined, and note was made of which lords had spoken for Viserys and which for Rhaenys, Laena, or Lenore. The lords assembled had favoured the male claimant over the female by 20 to 1, but there had been dissenters, and those same houses were most like to lend Princess Rhaenyra their support should it come to war. The princess would have the sea snake and his fleets, so Otto judged, and like as not the other lords of the eastern shores as well. Lords Bar Emin, Macy, Celtigar, and Crabbe most like. All these houses support Stannis for king in A Clash of Kings, including House Valyrian, and the Celtigars are silver-haired Valyrians like the Targaryens." Gyldayn writes, "Perhaps even the Evenstar of Tarth, all were lesser powers save for the Valyrians. The Northmen were a greater concern. Winterfell had spoken for Rhaenys at Harrenhal, as had Lord Stark's bannermen, Dustin of Barrowtown and Manderley of White Harbour. Nor could House Arryn be relied upon, for the Eyrie was presently ruled by a woman, Lady Jean, the Maiden of the Vale, whose own rights might be called into question should Princess Rhaenyra be put aside." Okay, how was the vote 20 to 1? If the North, Stormlands, and Valyrian all came out in support of Rhaenys at the Great Council of 101, the vote should have been much closer, and the fact that so many regions support Rhaenyra almost proves that the Great Council had been rigged by the Maesters and House Strong. So long as you have a dragon and unnamed successor, lords are willing to accept female Targaryen rule. The argument that the High Lords will only follow a male ruler on the Iron Throne is completely smashed when more than half of Westeros supports Rhaenyra because she was named successor and had more dragons. Also, did you know the Dustins of Barrowtown used to be kings of the North before the Starks, and the Manderleys are exiles from the Reach who arrived on the shores of the North and were granted lands by the Starks, which is why they are super loyal to the direwolf. Gyldayn writes, "The greatest danger was deemed to be Storm's End, for House Baratheon had always been staunch in support of the claims of Princess Rhaenys and her children. Though old Lord Bourmont had died, his son Boris was even more belligerent than his father, and the lesser Stormlords would surely follow wherever he led. Then we must see that he leads them to our king," Queen Alicent declared, whereupon she sent for her second son. Thus it was not a raven who took flight for Storm's End that day, but Vhagar, oldest and largest of the dragons of Westeros. On her back rode Prince Aemon Targaryen with a sapphire in the place of his missing eye. "Your purpose is to win the hand of one of Lord Baratheon's daughters," his grandsire Sir Otto told him before he flew. "Any of the four will do. Woo her and wed her, and Lord Boris will deliver the Stormlands for your brother. Fail, I will not fail." Prince Aemon blustered. "Aegon will have Storm's End, and I will have this girl." By the time Prince Aemon took his leave, the stink from the dead king's bedchamber had wafted all through Maegor's Holdfast, and many wild tales and rumours were spreading through the court and castle. Honestly, how did Rhaenyra's faction over the last 10 years not bother to secure Storm's End? It is literally the most strategic castle to King's Landing, barring Harrenhal, and with it comes all the Stormlands. One marriage alliance, or have Rhaenys visit it and convince her first cousin to support Rhaenyra, and then the Blacks would have the Vale, the Valyrians, the North and the Stormlands to completely surround and destroy the Greens, whose strength is concentrated in the west, far from King's Landing. Like, Boris is right. Why were the Blacks taking him for granted and not offering him anything? Like, just give him Hand of the King or anything that would guarantee his support. Gyldayn writes, The dungeons under the Red Keep had swallowed up so many men suspected of disloyalty that even the High Septon had begun to wonder at these disappearances, and sent word from the Starry Sept of Oldtown asking after some of the missing. Sir Otto Hightower, as methodical a man as ever served his hand, wanted more time to make preparations, but Queen Alicent knew they could delay no longer. Prince Aegon had grown wary of secrecy. "Am I king or no?" he demanded of his mother. "If I am king, then crown me." The bells began to ring on the 10th day of the 3rd moon of 129 AC, tolling the end of a reign. Grand Maester Orwyle was at last allowed to send forth his ravens, and the blackbirds took to the air by the hundreds, spreading the word of Aegon's ascension to every far corner of the realm. The Silent Sisters were sent for to prepare the corpse for burning, and riders went forth on pale horses to spread the word to the people of King's Landing, crying, "King Viserys is dead, long live King Aegon." Hearing the cries, Monken writes, some wept whilst others cheered, but most of the small folk stared in silence, confused and wary, and now and again a voice cried out, "Long live our queen!" So that's kind of interesting, that most of the small folk don't care who rules them, and neither Rhaenyra or Aegon were super popular. What the small folk really wanted was just to be left alone. Gildane writes, "Meanwhile, hurried preparations were made for the coronation. The Dragon Pit was chosen as the site. Under its mighty dome were stone benches sufficient to seat 80,000, and the pit's thick walls, strong roof, and towering bronze doors made it defensible, should traitors attempt to disrupt the ceremony." Ryan Condell probably read this passage and thought it would be interesting to have the Blacks attack the coronation, which is why we had that Rhaenys scene at the end of episode 9. Although it still doesn't make any sense why Rhaenys wouldn't safeguard her 2 granddaughters married to Jace and Luke and wipe out the Greens in just one fire blast. Gildane writes, "On the appointment day, Sir Criston Cole placed the iron and ruby crown of Aegon the Conqueror upon the brow of the eldest son of King Viserys and Queen Alicent, proclaiming him Aegon of House Targaryen, second of his name, King of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men, Lord of the 7 Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm. His mother, Queen Alicent, beloved of the small folk, placed her own crown upon the head of her daughter, Helena, Aegon's wife and sister. After kissing her cheeks, the mother knelt before the daughter, bowing her head, and said, 'My queen.' How many came to see the crowning remains a matter of dispute. Grand Maester Monken, drawing upon Orwyle, tells us that more than 100,000 small folk jammed into the Dragon Pit, their cheers so loud they shook the very walls, whilst Mushroom says the stone benches were half filled. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, or the Gold Cloaks forced everyone to attend like we saw in the show. Gildane writes, "With the High Septon in Oldtown, too old and frail to journey to King's Landing, it fell to Septon Eustace to anoint King Aegon's brow with holy oils, and bless him in the 7 names of God." So, the only justification the show can have for Rhaenys' Dragon Pit attack is that they use it later to justify the Shepherd and the storming of the Dragon Pit, since the people of King's Landing all lost someone in Rhaenys' attack, which was the killing of innocent civilians who were forcibly crowded in there. Otherwise, this scene is a complete waste of time and HBO's money, since it just makes Rhaenys look like an idiot and serves nothing. This incident doesn't change the Greens in any way. It might as well have not happened. Remove it and nothing changes. Gildane writes, "A few of those in attendance with sharper eyes than most might have noticed that there were but 4 white cloaks in attendance on the new king, not 5. Aegon II had suffered his first defections the night before, when Sir Stefan Darklan of the Kingsguard had slipped away from the city with his squire, 2 stewards and 4 guardsmen. Under the cover of darkness, they made their way out a postern gate to where a fisherman's skiff awaited to take them to Dragonstone. They brought with them a stolen crown, a band of yellow gold ornated with 7 gems of different colors. This was the crown King Viserys had worn and the old King Jaehaerys before him. So the show had this be Eric Cargyle, but again, why didn't Darklan just assassinate Aegon the Usurper or Aemond? Either actions would have meant Darklan's death, but he would have died for his queen and won her the war with a single stroke. Because at this early stage, the Greens really can't afford to lose a single dragon. Otherwise, the Blacks could all work together to take out Vhagar if they don't have Sunfire to worry about. And Helena is not a battle-hardened dragon rider, and Daeron's dragon is as small as Jace's and in Old Town. Gyldayn writes, when Prince Aegon had decided to wear the iron and ruby crown of his namesake, the Conqueror, Queen Alicent had ordered Viserys' crown locked away, but the steward entrusted with the task had made off with it instead. After the coronation, the remaining Kingsguard escorted Aegon to his mount, a splendid creature with gleaming golden scales and pale pink wing membranes. Sunfire was the name given this dragon of the Golden Dawn. Munkin tells us the king flew thrice around the city before landing inside the walls of the Red Keep. Sir Eric Cargyle led his grace into the torchlit throne room where Aegon II mounted the steps of the Iron Throne before 1,000 lords and knights. Shouts rang through the hall. Yes, Aegon only had the support of some of the richest and most powerful lords in Westeros. The small folk didn't want him, and ironically, neither did the majority of the lords in Westeros. Just those who conspired to make Aegon king to advance their own interests, wealth, and prestige. Anyway, subscribe for more.